All right, just to
Okay, you are still watching Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA. To begin our conversation on the protest and the economic implications, here is background report put together by correspondent Dennis Temple.
Nigeria, Africa's largest economy and the most populous African country, has experienced several nationwide protests over the years. Just last week, nationwide protests erupted with significant economic implications. Over the past 5 days, the protest has led to widespread looting, destruction of property, and fatalities. These events have disrupted businesses, resulting in financial losses for companies and individuals. The destruction of property, including infrastructure and private assets, will necessitate substantial repair and replacement costs. This, no doubt, has a lot of implications on the country's economic stability and growth, especially now that the economy is fragile. President Tinubu, in his nationwide broadcast, explains the dangers of the nationwide protest, describing it as regrettable, and promised to restore law and order to prevent more of such incidents. While acknowledging that there is tough times in Nigeria at the moment, the president listed all that the nation has achieved from his economic policies in the last 14 days and urged the protesters not to drag back the wheels of progress. Today on Good Morning Nigeria, guests who are already seated in the studio will shed more light on the implications this protest has cost the nation's economic life.
Well, thank you, Dennis, for that background report. Now, joining us to discuss the nationwide protest and its economic implications, let me introduce here in the studio Ni Akinshiju, Chairman, Independent Media Initiative and Financial and Investment Analyst. You're welcome to the program.
Thank you so much. Good morning, Nigeria.
Awesome. Also joining us via Zoom from Dutse is Dr. Ibrahim Mohammed Adam, Associate Professor of Economics and Director, Entrepreneurship Development Center, Federal University Dutse, Jigawa State, a Fellow of Institute of Chartered Bankers of Nigeria, an Associate Member, Nigeria Economic Society. Dr. Adam, you are welcome to the program. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Nigeria, and thank you for having me.
Larry.
also from Duse, we have Sergey Musa Ahmed, Jigawa State Commissioner of Information, Youth, Sports and Culture. Sergey Musa Ahmed, if you can hear us.
Yes, I can vividly hear you. Good morning, Nigeria.
Also joining us via Zoom from Kaduna, we have Khadijat Omotayo Karim, Personal Assistant to the President on Constituency Affairs. Many thanks, Khadijat Karim, for joining us. Khadijat, are you with us?
Yeah, good morning, Nigerians.
Okay, Khadijat, let me just stay with you there. I want you to give us your assessment of the situation in Kano and Kaduna. I guess you are there and you've gone round. Can you give us an assessment of the situation there now?
Actually, I'm not in Kaduna. I'm in Katsina.
Okay.
Yes. So I left Kano yesterday for Katsina based on the fact that Mr. President authorizated me to tour around Nigeria 6 months ago to be able to know what the grassroots needed. So my experience at Kano State was bitter. It's not something that is welcome to. When we got in Kano on the 30th to 31st of last month, we were thinking and able the protest is going to be peaceful, and we are going to use even the opportunity to speak with people, because we are meant to go around the state, do a town hall meeting with grassroots, inspect abandoned projects, ask their needs, go to the palace of Emir Palace, and also to be regionalized with the state governor. But unfortunately, the town hall meeting could not hold. On the 1st of August, we actually went to the hall to set up. On our way coming out of the hall, the destruction has started already. Even as I speak, the hall we are meant to use was damaged. We couldn't have the town hall meeting again, which is very bad. And the NCC digital park for upcoming ICC students was also damaged. Nothing left, nothing. When I saw it, how can be, but I wasn't feeling heat. I was feeling cold when I saw the damages. The High Court, the customary court, everything was damaged. Everything, nothing left. So I now say to myself, why are we deceiving ourselves? Why are we calling it protest? Why are we calling it bad governance? This is disgusting. This is something that is not supposed to be, because people even don't understand the fact that we are destroying our legacies, we are destroying our futures. If we are saying we want to end bad governance, is this the way and manner to end bad governance? Nothing was left. Nothing. People properties were damaged. Even the store we are supposed to get our drink from, it was damaged, was looted. We couldn't even get our money back because we also what happened. So many things happened in that state that I think probably, aside from the fact that it's politics, we are also having a tribalism issue in Nigeria.
All right. Many thanks, Khadijat, for letting us know what happened in Kano. But could you tell us, were the security operatives, up and doing, in all of this? Tell me, would you say that the security operatives responded well to the situation? Because looking at the damage you've mentioned now, someone will be thinking, what went wrong? Would you say that the government first and foremost responded, promptly to the situation, and security operatives did the needful, maybe to quell the situation?
Okay, so if I may hear you clearly, are you asking what was the security operation doing?
Yes, Khadijat.
Was that the question?
Yes, Khadijat.
Oh, okay.
With the damage you have mentioned.
At first, it was a peaceful protest. So we being in the hall, we noticed that some masses coming out from, I don't know the street, but we noticed immediately after governor approach and speak with the protesters, some I don't know, I don't want to use a bad word, but some people were just coming from one corner by the government house, is it state house, and they mingled with the protesters and everything escalated. So the security personnel were on ground, they are on ground, but they never They never mean harmful. They were on ground, but in a situation whereby even the protesters are more than the security personnel on ground, it was out of hand. It was out of hand. And believe you me, protesters are not educated to know the right thing and the wrong thing. Even me, I try and interview one or two of them, and what I heard was so shocking. And it is not done anywhere. If you have personal issue with Mr. President, I think there is a way and manner we should always resolve our issue with this man. If you don't want a civilian to rule, it's all well and good. If you want a civilian to rule, he's going to rule for good. But you bringing people out, telling them, go and do it. It's Yoruba man that is there. This thing is getting too much. It's getting out of hands. When we have somebody that wants to fix the country that works for all, and some people are still criticizing. I interviewed one or two of them, and one guy said, na Yoruba na Ngbati. I don't get it. Why are you test? Why are you guys looting properties? They said, na Ngbati.
I've been intervening.
I was not like,
I don't understand.
Excuse me?
Okay, go ahead.
Khadijat, thank you so much. I would get back to you. Thank you for letting us know what went down in Kano. Let's get to Dr. Ibrahim Mohammed Adam now, who joins us from Duse, and I would like him to also give us a feel of what happened in the course of the protest from August 1 till this time as we speak. Dr. Adam, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you very well. Thank you. Before I give you some updates, please, I want to make some facts very clear.
Okay.
The socio-economic upheavals ravaging our dear nation, Nigeria, are actually the triggers of this nationwide protest. And the reasons are not far-fetched. Nigerians are experiencing high rate of insecurity in form of kidnapping, insurgency, banditry, and what have you. There is scourging and vicious generational poverty, in the land. There is hunger, high hyperinflation, cost of essentials are beyond the reach of the common man, and we are witnessing rising unemployment, particularly youth unemployment. And all these culminate to this movement. It's important to note that these problems or challenges did not start with the current administration. It has been lingering for some years now. There were warning signals since 1999. And unfortunately, again, these economic challenges, or socio-economic crises are more prevalent, pervasive, and widespread in the northern part of the country, particularly up north. When you look at the statistics, we have in the north the highest rate of unemployment, the highest rate of poverty compared to other parts of the country, and the highest rate of even crimes and insecurity. So when you look at this, there is general consensus among the two sides, from both sides, the government side and also the citizen side, that yes, there is hunger in the land, there is hardship, there is insecurity, And yes, there is need for better life, as acknowledged by Mr. President. We all agree that these are the issues, or the major issues. So having said this, before I go into the economic implications, here in Dutse, the first day, we witnessed violent protests in some local governments, including the state capital, Dutse, where the peaceful protest was hijacked and infiltrated by hooligans, miscreants, cutting away the goods that are not even public goods. They are for the private individuals. And also, in some cases, places were burned. Infrastructure, public and private infrastructure were destroyed. So as a result, the state governor had to introduce a curfew, dusk to dawn, first day. And after the assessment of the situation, in the second and third day, we had this curfew relaxed from 5 a.m. to 6 p.m. So at least there is a relative calm in Jigawa State for now. Now, coming to the economic implications.
Dr. Adam, just hold on the economic implication. We'll get back to you later. But let's speak to the Commissioner for Information, who is also from Jigawa State. We want to find out from Musa Ahmed, the State Commissioner for Information, Youth and Sport and Culture, how exactly has the state government been able to at least to douse the tension in the state? What are you engaging with the protesters and also the leaders of the protest?
Thank you. Thank you so much for this very interesting question, and I'm very glad, and I'm very glad that the doctor has already explained the situation in Jigawa State. And one thing I want to say, in Jigawa State, the incident had happened, but what actually happened is different from what we see in other parts of the country. This is because when you look at the issue of peaceful protests in Jigawa State, the state government have done relatively very well in engaging the good people of Jigawa State and inform them the implication of engaging in violence. And at the same time, the security agencies were up and doing, collaborating with Jigawa State government to inform the good people of Jigawa State about the dangers of engaging in violent protests in Jigawa State. So what we had in Jigawa State is more of, is more of issue to do with politics. Because when we look at what happened, Jigawa State, we have 27 local government. But the incident happened in actually 8 local government areas. And if you look at what happened in Dutse, Hadeja, Gumel, Birnin Kudu, you will realize that there were some people with political motive that went ahead to burn the headquarters of APC. And at the same time, they were targeting only government government stores in various local government where we have fertilizers, food items, and also attempt to reach out to some major political office holders in most of these cities to do a kind of vandalism and looting. So when you look at the main issue of our discussion here is economic implication of this thing. When discussing the economic implication of this protest, you will realize there are so many issues to consider. The impact of business operation and at the same time an investment. As a result of this violence in Jigawa State, you find that many businesses were closed, and even the petty traders cannot be able to trade their businesses and be able to earn a living. As a result of that, you find that so many businesses have been closed and that have serious economic implication. And considering the economic implication of the protest, you realize that Nigeria is a country that is looking for foreign direct investment. And with this issue of waking up in the morning, find some group of unpatriotic youths vandalizing infrastructures owned by government and individuals, certainly it will deter people from coming to Nigeria to invest.
All right.
Okay. Honorable Commissioner, your reason, the reason that you gave, is a little bit different from what the professor gave. You said that it's politically motivated. The skirmishes that you experienced there. Was the government not envisaging this kind of thing to come up?
You see, we are one of the most peaceful states in northwest Nigeria, and in the history of Jigawa State, there was no history of any protest. And our expectation, when we heard about the protest coming, we try as much as we can to collaborate with all stakeholders to be able to sensitize people to come and have a peaceful demonstration in the state, working with security agencies to ensure that there is going to be a peaceful protest in Jigawa State. Because why I call it political, if you look at the actual happening during the incident, you will realize if there are any protesters used to have a leader, and you see them taking a placard saying this is the reason why they are protesting. You can find instances whereby it was a young people, even on their age, that are actually brought out, targeting only billboards and going straight to APC headquarters to vandalize and see how they can destroy properties related to the. So this is something that we never emphasize, because we believe as a government, people have a right to come out for protest if it is peaceful one. But to have a kind of situation whereby people will go and start destroying individual houses of individual, then targeting government sensible installations is not something we expected to see. It was as a result of the nature of this protest that turned to be a kind of riot that made the state governor to quickly impose a curfew in the state. But we thank God, working collaboratively with the security agencies and the kind of synergy we enjoy from the security agencies in coping the situation, alhamdulillah, now the state is quite peaceful, and alhamdulillah, with the relax of the curfew, people have go back to their normal businesses. And there were a lot of lessons to learn, and this is something we'll do as much as we can to ensure that next time there will be no room for hoodlums to come and take over peaceful protests, if there is any in Jigawa State.
Right, lessons to learn. Many thanks, Agri Ahmed. We'll get back to you. for you to tell us some of the lessons Jigawa State has learned from all of this, and give us a figure about how many people actually lost their lives as a result of the protest. But let's get back here in the studio. Niya Kinshuju, you've heard our guests from different parts of the country. You have been following developments, in 36 states of the country, including the FCT. You know what has happened from August 1 till today. Give us your own perspective of the whole situation. The hunger protest, was it really a protest? Was it a riot? Was it... Give us your terms.
Was he hijacked?
Well, it was supposed to be a protest. But it became a protest that was no longer a protest. And then it became a violent demonstration. And of course, very disappointing in its outcome. Some of us are students of protests and had led protests at different times in our life, and that also understood the efficacy of protest as a form of communication between the people or particular interest groups and the government or authority, given the environment, as it were. So when there is a call for protest, to me and some of those people that we belong in the same school of thought, is a channel of communication. And communication, the basis of communication is dialogue. If you're talking about communication, the first inference is there's a dialogue, not even a discussion. There's a talk between this group and the other group. And whenever I hear about protest, that is the scenario that comes to my mind. Then, of course, this is not without understanding the fact again that in every form of protestation where you have people physically coming on the street to engage government, and I'm saying government because it may not be government at all times. It could be some other segment of the authority lineage. But when you have people coming from wherever they are and coming on the street, it is to engage government, to call for a redress, a redemption of sort and all that. But we also know that for every protest, there is always what we call the contiguous interest and the remote interest. The contiguous interests are the interests that align with the immediate vision, and aspiration of the people organizing the protest. And of course, the remote interest, those interests where some other people are using the ambush tactics to tap into the protest to also now reflect their own interests that may not even align in any way with the contiguous interest. So this is what I've seen play out here. We're talking of protest. Nigerians have a right to protest. And there's a good reason. Talking about cost of living, high cost increase and high cost of living. There's a good reason. Everybody is impacted. At whatever economic level, you are, whatever you earn, your earnings, are threatened, are eroded because of high price increase. So everybody across the economic level. So, but when we come out and it now became across about 15 states that I monitored on August 1. In the first 3 hours, it was okay. But after after that first 3 hours, everything turned upside down. And I saw a particular person whose shop, was looted, and he was there. It was a closed shop. It was not operated and all that. But this set of young people attacked the shop, and it was like you were seeing your life go down in your presence. And that person is not even a government person. Has no relationship with government. That is his own livelihood. And some people that were ostensibly, protesting about economy was now demolishing the livelihood of that person. Now, these are some of the drawbacks in protest. And that is why some of us say the kind of social configuration we have in our population now sometimes will not even advise a protest, because you have all manners of categories of people that don't even understand the essence of protest, or that their own vision, of protest is to destroy and loot. Once there's a talk about protest, it's about looting. And the looting do not only affect the government, as it were, it affects the ordinary people, common people that share in that same aspiration, but believe that the way to do is to be peaceful. So what we have at this moment is unfortunate, and it also talks to the fact that the protesters or the organizers have not done a lot of sensitization with their people. For me, when you are going to protest, the standard template is that there must be an identifiable organization that is responsible, for calling out the protest. That is one. And where the protest begins, because it is a dialogue, that identifiable organization would be that organization that would interface with the authority. So there is a sequence, At the end of it, the authority speaks with the organization, and the organization gets back, to the area of their own interest and find a way of resolving it. The most I was hearing was the president should talk to us. I said it is not. The president, yes, talks, but it is after an aggregation of everything in the environment. Eventually, the president spoke, and a lot of people, some of them are still saying he didn't say what they were expecting. I said, there's a dialogue here, There's a discussion. You asked the president to speak. He had spoken. And you are still now saying he has not spoken what you wanted to hear. Dialogue is about you coming midway and the other party coming midway, and you find a way of ciphering the thing, and then you agree on particular position of a convergence. So what is obvious now is that we have a group of people that are determined on what the end conclusion should be. And that therefore, if that conclusion does not align with their own position, then they are not going to accept that position. But it's unfortunate. I believe that an understanding of what the president or even the administration's economic policy is about would perhaps, there's a need for Nigerians to have an understanding, either at the historical level or at this critical junction, why there is a need for those policies. And that, of course, historically, when the government is conscious of the limitations and constrictions in an economic space, there may be a need for a paradigm shift. We have seen it. Most of us talk about Lee Kuan Yew. Lee Kuan Yew administered Singapore for more than 30 years. And in those 30 years, it was moving from a period of convenience, because we feel comfortable in our zone, in our comfort zone at a point in time. But an administrator with vision comes and says, no, this is not how we should live. We need to move to a more developmental scale, and he upscales that space. And in doing that, there will be some forms of pains, because we have to give up some of the comforts we have been enjoying. Margaret Thatcher, the same thing. When the British economy was more of a government-driven economy, despite the fact that it was supposed to be based on the capitalist framework. It was Margaret Thatcher, within those 12 years of her administration, that changed that framework. And today, she was known as the Iron Lady then, because she determined that the paradigm shift must occur. The same thing with Reagan that time. And then we also have the perestroika in Russia. So at the point in time when the perestroika was being implemented, price of food skyrocketed, in the Russian market. But now, because there was a need for them to find a way of including some form of capitalist, orientation in their economy. And in that period, within that 4 or 5 years period, there was a lot of challenges economically for them. But again, they are better for it now. So it's as if that is the same thing we are going through here. Do we go on with a $30 billion budget annually? When you put the federal government budget and the state government budget together, they are not up to $50 billion of a population of 200 million, more than 200 million people. And you divide that, how much even per capita of the budget size comes to an average Nigerian. And we feel we are big, we feel we have all the resources. We do not, we are talking of a $50 billion public sector budget, you know. And then what we even have from our private sector. So these are some of the considerations we need to put together. And then to now make it worse, even the small thing we are managing, we decided to destroy. So much that now we are, those who are estimating are talking of 700 billion naira already. We are nudging 1 trillion. Now we have not taken the very important informal sector into consideration. And because about 70% of our economy is made up of informal sector. And it's even difficult to estimate what those ones had lost, because it's every day that they make their earnings and their income. And for every day they are not going out, they are losing a lot.
You have said a lot right now, and some people have actually questioned the fact that maybe the government did not engage enough. And the government says, okay, we want to engage you people. Come out. Let's talk. Let's dialogue. But we had a lot of faceless people coming out to say, no, we're not going to do this. How would you advise, maybe in case of another time, for government to better handle this situation, not to have gone out of hand the way it did? Because when you have people that are calling for a protest and they are not coming out, to dialogue. So what is the other way out of this situation in order for us not to have a repeat of this kind of situation in future? Because just like you said, the hardship is there and the government is working at it. The Honorable Minister said some of these, skirmishes are politically motivated as well. So we have so many sides to these protests. So how do we better handle it, the next time?
I think it should be a matter of continuous engagement, and it should not be a federal government people engagement. We have 3 layers of governance in Nigeria: the federal, states, and local governments. 90% of Nigerians, 95% of Nigerians live in local government, the 774 local governments. So if we are going to engage, we should start talking to Nigerians at that level, at the local government level, at the ward level, so that this comprehension of Nigerian government is me somewhere in remote Dutse, in remote Ondo, against a federal government in remote Abuja, there's a need to close that gap. And the way to close that gap is to make the nearest local government tier, more impactful on the people, in that axis. So the engagement should always be about people at that grassroots level. Then you now, of course, have national leaders who are identifiable at the national level, who would engage at that level too. And it should not be a one-off thing. It should be a continuous thing.
Thank you so much, Nia Kinshiju. Let's get back to our other guests now, and let's get to Dr. Ibrahim Adam, Associate Professor of Economics and Director, Entrepreneurship Development Center. I'd like you to please give us an estimate. Nia Kinshiju has told us that about 700 billion naira would have been lost as a result of this protest, and of course figures are still being put together. From your own end, the NSAS in 2020, the estimate by the LCCI, Lagos State Chamber of Commerce, put it at 700 billion also, I remember. So now, anyways, but I would like you to give us your own view and what you think this damage is put at the moment. Looking at the property destroyed, I mean, so many states have gone backward as a result of this. Speak to us.
Thank you very much. Let me just open it a bit. The protest, the nationwide protest, actually has pros and cons. The negative effects and, of course, the positive effects. But let's look at the negative effects first. First and foremost, we have seen loss of lives. This is really very unfortunate. NLC put it at 40, and I'm very much sure that this figure is much more than this. And still we have not heard from the government, but this casualty is from both the security agencies and, of course, the citizens. On the part of the citizens, we have the protesters and innocent Nigerians. A case at hand in Kano where a child of a girl of less than 10 years was shot. The bullet penetrated and shot that girl, which died eventually. So, from economic perspective, the most important asset to an economy is its people, the human capital. And unfortunately, having lost this number, and still the number is rising, because some are presently at hospitals receiving treatment, some have already been incapacitated, and still, when you
All right, looks like Dr. Adam, we seem to have lost connection with you. We hope we can rectify that and get back to you. But let's quickly get to Khadijat Omotayo Karim now. You said you're touring the state on the authority of the president, to get feelers of the policies of government on the people and all of that. I want you to also speak to us at this point, because you are not an economist. You'll not be able to give us the figure in real terms of what would have been lost as a result of this. But I want to understand if this could have been politically motivated or as a result of the economy, as already mentioned by Dr. Adam earlier. But when you spoke to people in the different states you had been to before August 1, what was the response of citizens to you as regards the impact of the policies of government on them? Was it an issue of, like you were trying to mention, about who was the president, or was it an issue about what their pockets were saying and their bellies were saying as at the time you spoke to them?
Okay, thank you. So I think I firstly want to use this opportunity to sympathize with the victim that lost their lives during the protest. So the issue is majority of the people that came out to protest are not well educated, and those are the issues we are having in Nigeria. And the cost implication is just simple. We are agitating for bad governance, hunger in the state, and yet we are destroying our legacy. It actually takes a day to destroy and years to fix. The PCC center that was built is also built to educate people more, but everything was damaged, and it's actually going to fall back on us, not the government we are saying per se, because the cost implication is actually going to high, skyrocketed than expectation. And of course, some people will actually come online and say, hey, they said they want to build it back, so billions. Yes, we should expect it. In as much we are not seeing it coming before we start destroying, we should expect ridiculous price as well. We are saying we want to eradicate poverty, we want to eradicate hunger, and yet we are even bringing more problem to the situation of the country. I can't say per se this is the worth of the damages demonstrated during the protest, but believe you me, I am not well. When I saw it, I was not okay internally. Cars were burnt, property were destroyed. So many things occurred, so many things was demonstrated that is not even ideal enough. And the age rate of the protesters are not even up to 15. What like that like they are not up in age. They cannot even speak pidgin English, not to talk of good English. So they don't even really understand what they are doing on the street. One said they gave them 500 naira to come out and protest. They are talking about anti-protest. What about those that came out because of 500 naira to lose their lives and to destroy properties that are worth billions of naira?
Khadijat, Khadijat, if you can, could you just pause for a minute? Sorry to interrupt your line of thought. But you know, my question was actually about your conversation with citizens across the states that you have been to, because you told us that you were, you know, authorized by the president to move around state and have a feel of, you know, how citizens are feeling and the impact of the policies on them. I want you to tell us, prior to August 1, before the protest began, what was the feedback you got from citizens as regards the impacts of the policies of government on them? You know, tell us what was your experiences having town hall meetings in different places that you went to before August 1. What was the interaction like? What did Nigerians tell you? What did they say they wanted?
Okay, thank you. So far, so good. I've visited Kogi, Jigawa, Niger State, Anambra State, Kano State, I'm here in Castina, and Zamfara State, Taraba State. Yes, everybody cannot be friendly, but it's an assignment given to me which I deliver the mandate of a new dope agenda. Yes, the youth are friendly. I know what they requested for is their right, and which I have already discussed with the appropriate quarters. Let's see how we are going to collaborate and fix the needful. Yes, so far so good. They have been agitating for empowerment, jobs creation, insecurity in their communities, vocational centers, bad roads. You know, lives has not been so meaningful for them, do you understand? But and I believe it's because Mr. President also have them at mind. That's why he said I should go and represent him. I should go and visit all the states in Nigeria at the grassroots level, engage them. Not only the youth, I also engage the emirs, the kings, the Ezes, which so far so good. I see reason why people are hungry, and I also give them assurance of rectifying some of the issues. Yes, which I make them understand the fact that it's not easy. It's not going to be easy at the beginning when something good is coming, which they all comply with me. But so far so good. The majority issue they have been complaining about is insecurity. And if there's no insecurity in the state, there's not going to be any improvement so far. And I also urge them to be calm, to be patient, and also promise to bring in empowerment program, massive one, and going to actually be what they want, but not what we want to give them, what they want. And which they actually comply, and they were so happy seeing somebody representing Mr. President in their midst for the first time in decades. I think I'm not connected. Oh, okay. Okay. So I saw a screen thing, so I had to call people to order. So and of course, Mr. President, I saw some of the reports, and he promised to do as much as he can, and it has been in his agenda to work hand in hand with the grassroots politicians, to work hand to hand with the good people of Nigeria. And like I used to tell people that this man has not come to govern a political or a APC government, but a government that works for all. He wants people at the grass level not to feel abandoned. That is why I've been going out there 6 months ago, discussing with people, getting their feedback, interactive section, what do they want, what do they need, how can the federal government and the state government collaborate together to achieve a simple goal, a goal that will bring back to Nigerians, that will work for all. And we've been getting good feedback. Even some states were not accommodating, but immediately I give my speech and reason why I am visiting their state, they had to comply with us. Good.
Well, thank you very much, Khadijat, for giving us a lowdown of your engagements, across the country and your interaction with the people there. And with the feedback that you got, I know that you'll be able to give a feedback to the president for the government to be able to work on them. Then let's come back to the studio. We're just in 2 minutes before we go on our first break. From what you said earlier, that the sub-governments, at different levels, are supposed to be engaging, especially with this new local government autonomy now. We believe to see a change, in governance, interaction with the local people, instead of people focusing mainly on the federal government. So with this development now, what advice would you give to the people in the way that they should also, engage with government at different levels?
And be more interested in what is happening in their immediate environment. What Ajia Khadijat is doing on behalf of the president is laudable, but it cannot be enough. At the most, she would be able to go to 36 states and meet leaders, so-called leaders. I'm sorry to use the word, because it's the definition of leadership is by your own perception, So somebody is a leader, seen, at the state level, may not be responsible to so many people at the local government level. And I believe that the individual is as important as the other individual, because generally it is as a together in the first instance that we even vote. These are individual decisions, and that's why the individual is important. Voting itself is an individual decision. So after the vote, the governance too must also take the individual into consideration. However, there are different capacities capacities for individuals. You have individuals in certain streets, in certain areas, that don't even know the road to the state capital. And therefore, it also means that they cannot even get information from the state capital, either on the in any of the mass media, because they don't even have access, to electricity in the first instance, that they will be here listening to television and all that. So for me, it is important for direct engagement. And the people that can do that are the councillors, the chairman of local government. You have 774 local government in Nigeria. There is no way an officer or officials of the federal government will go through all those local governments in a year. We have 300 and how many days in a year. So if you want to go to each one, the local government. Through, of course, the instrumentation of the states. Because these are the two types of government that are nearer the people. If the local government are in power and they are engaging the people, they will create jobs, they will create business opportunities. I remember in those days when we were growing, our parents in the streets were contractors to the local government. And at that level, they were at peace with themselves, with the local government, because you kept hearing them. We are going to discuss the contract for this, and with the councillors and all that. So it's as if we lost a whole tier of responsible governance, by abandoning the local government administration. So for me, communication is important here. And the important is to be able to, not just for us to just concentrate on the facilitation of mass communication channels, radio, television, newspapers, and all that. The average citizen feel important when he's engaged or is engaging an official of state at whatever level. It's either as councillor, as chairman, and all that. And then, secondly, there's a need to make the people to be conscious of the power of the state government, of the local government, and make them accountable. The way we are trying, we have actually solidified the capacity of Nigerians to make the federal government accountable. And you see in so many ways, the federal government have a way of responding, to the yearnings of the people, especially as aggregated by channels of mass communication. But it's not enough. That is why it's a misaligned relationship. We need the people to say, the federal government takes 52% thereof of federal allocation. There's 48% of that needs to be accounted for too, at state level, at local government level. So can we make Nigerians more accountable, active, by engaging their local governments, by engaging their states? If the Nigerians had the capacity to engage local governments, this, how do I call it, the diversion, the expropriation of resources of local government by the state would have been resisted a long time. It would be Nigerians at the state, at the local government level, that would have asked for their rights.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Nee, there. We will take a break now. The conversation continues. Stay with us. Thanks for staying with us. You're still on to Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA. And our conversation today has been on the economic implication of the ongoing protest. We'd like to go to to the State Commissioner for Information and Youth, Sport and Culture, who joined us via TVU Park from Jigawa State, Musa Ahmed. Yeah, Honorable Commissioner, just like you said, Jigawa State before now has relatively been a very peaceful state. You hardly hear of any protest or riot or demonstration. But with this protest now, a lot of damages and skirmishes and destruction, violence. How would you put the figure concerning the economic implication? Because no doubt this has drawn the state back, economically. So how would you be able to rate the economic implication, on the state?
All right, thank you, and thank you once again for the opportunity to speak on the impact of this protest in Jigawa State. One thing I would like to say, the figures in terms of Naira value has not been put together, but there is high level of damage in the state government side. Like I can tell you, during the protest, we have an agency in the state government that is called JESCO. JESCO is responsible for providing agricultural supply to the Jigawa State citizens. And they have stores across the state. I can give you an example. In Gumel, there was a store of JESCO that has about 19 trucks of fertilizer that have been vandalized. In Hadeja, we have a store that is called JESCO and Jada, where they have fertilizer, and about 36 trucks were destroyed in that particular store, which is very huge. And when you go to Birnin Kudu, which is a very big city in the state, we also have about 19 trucks of fertilizer that have been vandalized by the people. And put together all, when you have the statistics from the state agency responsible, you see that about 109 trucks of fertilizer have been vandalized. And the cost of fertilizer in market is ranging about 35 to 40,000 naira, but the state government in his wisdom subsidized the price of fertilizer to just 28,000 naira per bag. And unfortunately, these fertilizers are now being sold at the cost of 2,000 naira. So just look at the huge loss that the state government have procured as a result of the vandalism of about 109 trucks of fertilizer. And apart from that, you look at, there are various instances whereby state secretariat local government secretariat are being burned, and private cars of individuals being kept at those secretariats are being vandalized and burned to ashes. So there is a huge damage from the state government, and some notable individuals in the state have also procured this damage that are also currently being calculated to see how we can be able to come up with exact figure or approximately what has been lost in the state. So it's a serious setback, and when you look at the agricultural potential of the state, and when you look at the effort of the state government to see how they can alleviate the suffering of our farmers, which has a serious implication to the food security of the nation, because it is expected when Jigawa State have turned out as we don't have any flood incident in Jigawa State in the 2024, it is expected will contribute hugely to the food security of the nation, and that also has a serious consequence to the economic growth of this nation.
Ahmed, indeed, the economic implications of this protest is devastating. Of course, it hampers development and exacerbates poverty. But listening to you and talking about, the protesters attacking warehouses where, or if you like, trucks that carried fertilizer, what message does that send to the state government? Because, the price you have pegged as what it is in the markets originally before the protest, of course is way above the means of the average farmer in Jigawa State, I suppose. And could you give us the figure of fertilizer as at last year and what it compared to what you just told us now, and tell us what is a pointer, what does that point to the state government as regards the needs of the people?
You see, as I told you earlier, when you look at what happened, it's not actually a protest in Jigawa State, but it's more of a riot. This is a unpatriotic element in the state that want to now cause damage to the government, that are targeting those sensible installations just to vandalize properties. So one thing I would like to tell you, we have been able to make a very, very serious arrest to that effect. And now I can tell you authoritatively, we give glory to God. There was no incident of anybody died in Jigawa State, but we have custody of over 226 suspects that have been arrested. And already, as a result of the mobile court we operate in Jigawa State, about 149 have been sentenced to court, and they are under investigation. So that is to say, at the end of this exercise, the state government will be able to have much more in terms of information, so that we'll be able to have actual happenings that lead to these incidents of vandalizing government properties, particularly targeting at stores where we have food items and fertilizer.
Very much, Sergey. You didn't quite answer my question about what the price of fertilizer is, as at last year and what it is now, and why fertilizer was the target for the protesters. But let's move on away from all of that. Let's get to Dr. Adam now, who also joins us from Jigawa State. I'd like you to tell us some of the lessons you think that the state would have learned as a result of this. Associate Professor of Economics, Dr. Ibrahim Mohammed Adam, my question is to you. What lessons do you think that the people of Jigawa State would have learned from all of this? And what do you think the government should do differently now with the fallout of this protest?
Thank you very much. In just a minute, please, let me quickly run down through the core implications. Then I move to your question. Now, you see, if assuming the protesters have embraced dialogue will have abated this loss of life, really. And we have achieved a better result than really the situation we find ourselves. So another thing that is very important, we are, in the course of this protest, many productivity has been lost, businesses has been shut down, economic activities has been disrupted. Nigeria, arguably the largest economy in Africa, but now the support is being threatened by South Africa and the likes of Egypt. So, this has actually slowed us down, it has set us aback, being that we are really leading, we are competing. And what we have lost now, which is very huge, imagine 1 trillion naira, is being lost, in 2 days. And this just from the formal sector. The informal sector is more than double the formal sector. And that means the cost implication in naira, so far, it will amount to more than 5 trillion, putting together the formal and informal sector, which is almost 1/4 of the entire 2024 budget. So I think really the protests got to be suspended, considering the cost implication. Many property has been destroyed, has been vandalized, and the cost is even coming up. Imagine a digital skill center where it was set up by the government to empower youth has been totally destroyed, with the last thing in that, the ceiling being brought down and taken away by miscreants. This is really pathetic. And also, as a result of all these, we have seen, increase in poverty, hunger, starvation, hardship, because people have not gone out for days. They need to look for means of survival. And really, the hardship, the process, the hardship is really taking toll on all Nigerians. So, and another thing which has already been mentioned by one of the contributors, this has actually repelled investors, both foreign and local, because you cannot take your investment where there is no relative fees, and the cost of reconstruction, all these is really going to take most of our resources as a nation. Having said all these, you also quickly look at the positive aspect of the protest. It has actually awakened the leaders. Our leaders has now understand that Nigeria should not be taken for granted. At every level of leadership, it's very important that these leaders to be responsive, not defensive. They should actually emulate what the Mr. President is doing at all levels, especially our leaders at grassroots. And they have to live up to expectation. And now also, secondly, the Nigerian democracy now is maturing, looking at how people actually have exercised their rights to peaceful protest, even though the peaceful has eventually become violence in some part of the country. Okay, and also this has actually given Nigerians voice for better life. So putting all these together, we can now say that citizens now are more conscious of their rights, and really leaders should wake up, and it's a clarion call, and they should really lift up to expectation. Now, coming back to your question, which what I expect, the government should have proactively abated this strike through genuine engagement. Okay, when the notice was given, 1st August, many days ahead, I think from grassroots up to the federal government, there should be a direct engagement. The government will actually invite those that are leading this protest. They sit with them, they engage them physically, okay, actively, so that this should have been abated. But at a point, these protesters has been giving their noise, shouting that they will organize, but they were actually not listened to. So I think this should have been averted. The state government actually has done the right thing at Jigawa for quickly responding to the situation by placing a curfew.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Mohammed Adam, for your thoughts there. Citizens are more conscious of their rights now, and governments too, they need to also live up to their expectation. Now, we're trying to round up the conversation this morning. Let's just go to Khadijat. Khadijat, if you have been for the conversation, you want your parting shots, concerning this conversation this morning. And now that the citizens are more conscious of their rights, how can government ensure that its commitments, its promises are well implemented to meet the yearnings of the people?
Yeah. So actually, Mr. President that I know does not speak what he's not going to do. He does not promise what he's not going to do. So for him to have come out and say some certain thing, for him to have authorized me to go to different states and discuss with them how can the federal government and the state government collaborate in ensuring good governance and eradicate hunger, poverty in the country. I think he knows what he said and he knows what he's doing. And I'm very sure that is actually working tirelessly to fix Nigeria that works for all, and is going to fulfill all his promise.
Leave our conversation with you at this, for this at this point. We hope to have you some other time so you can tell us some more about, all that you're doing in making sure that the Nigerians get the dividends of democracy. Nia, can you do your last words as we round up the conversation? 60 seconds. There's a very, very valid point Dr. Ibrahim made. He said genuine engagement. So you could have engagement but not genuine. So, but what are your last thoughts?
Once an engagement is dialogue-based, it is expected to be genuine, because dialogue is about identifying problems and challenges, and together, the two protagonists, as it were, will determine what the solution would be. So at that level, it's genuine. Then for me, we are experiencing a new economic environment in terms of the policies governments have been deploying. And to that extent, I think there's a need for a continuous engagement, with targeted interest group, and of course with the larger population. Because the larger population, what impacts them immediately is the cost of living. So there's a need to continually rationalize that this is also an interim situation, and that we would exit the situation into a more better, brighter future.
Thank you very much. Of course, better, brighter future is what we seek, and we hope Nigeria will be better at the end of the day. Many thanks, Nia Kinshiju, Chairman, Independent Media Initiative, also Financial and Investment Analyst.
Initiative.
Media and Policy Initiative. Thank you so much, Nia Kinshiju, for joining us again. Dr. Ibrahim Mohammed Adam, Associate Professor of Economics and Director, Entrepreneurship Development Center, Federal University, Dutse, Jigawa State. Many thanks for being our guest this morning, and we hope that the peace and calm remains in Jigawa State. Thank you, Sagir Musa Ahmed, Jigawa State Commissioner of Information, Youth, Sports and Culture. It was nice to have you on the program. Khadijat Omotayo Karim, looking forward to having you some other time. So that's Good Morning Nigeria today. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Yenwe John. Remain tuned to the NTA.
And I'm Ademola Adeoye. Thanks for keeping us company, and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye for now.